I want to take a few minutes to talk about the first writing assignment that you have. This is where all the lessons you've learned the last few weeks, we're starting to put it together, and you're going out and getting to actually do some reporting and writing for the media on your own. So it's the hard news story in this week's homework folder, but another way to get to it is you can always go over here to assignments. It'll be in writing assignments, and we only have one so far. It's the hard news story. So like you read about in your book, a hard news story is something that's happening live, either in that day or it's being reported from the day, the day before. It's usually how we think of hard news is fires, police, a crime scene, an injury. I'm trying to think of some good things, but usually news is it's out of the ordinary, so it's something that's usually pretty dramatic. But it could even be something like, a grand opening at a school, a university opening, or, somebody receiving an award, for a Lifetime Achievement Award, or something that's in the moment. And that's what I'm going to have you focus on when you're covering events. Obviously, I know that you're not going to be able to go cover a fire or an ambulance, a paramedic saving somebody, or I understand that. What I want us to think about hard news in context is that you're going somewhere to cover an event and you only got that one shot to cover it. You have, it's live, it's in the moment, you're only there for a little bit of time, and you got to cover what's happening in that moment. And that's what we're going to be considering hard news for this week. And I'll go over a few more of those examples when I get down here. But let's talk about it now. So you're going to write this hard news story. You must cover a live event that you attend in person. And this is really key here. You actually have to go to this event. Again, we'll go over some ideas what events could be, but you got to be there in person, taking the notes, talking to the people. You actually have to attend it. It can't be you sitting there, just watching it, or, that will lead us into this. That will lead us down here, so I'll get to that in a second. Your story should also be in a Word document or a similar program. Do not write the story in Blackboard or attach it to a PDF. Especially for this first story, I'm going to be giving you a lot of feedback because I want you to learn from it. I know you're going to make a lot of mistakes. That's encouraged. I want us to go out there and do this, so I need to give you feedback. And I can't give you feedback if you write it directly in Blackboard or on a PDF because I can't make comments directly in your document. So this, even though this is seems like a minor detail, it's important to submit your work in a Word document or something that's similar. All right, let's talk about the nuts and bolts, what you actually need to have in your story. Your story cannot use reporting from other stories or use direct language from other stories. And that's what I was talking about a minute ago. What you can't do is find some live event or some event that's going on and then find 3 or 4 stories and other news outlets that have covered it and piece that together, whether that be taking direct quotes from them, taking some of their language and putting it in your own story, or just using their reporting and then making up your own story, writing your own story based on what others have reported. You can't do that. It has to be you actually writing a story, going and getting the information. That's not to say that you can't use other stories to see maybe things that they did, or learn a little bit more about background information to include in your story. You can do things like that. I want you to do research, which we'll talk about, but you can't just piece together a bunch of other stories and make one as your own. You have to have at least one source and 2 direct quotes that you obtain. The quotes must be recorded by you and original to your reporting. So you're going to be, again, you're going to this event. Let's say you're going to a charity event. They're holding some, barbecue over the weekend, some charity to raise some money. And you're covering that event. So you're going to that barbecue, and that's going to be your hard news story. When you're there, you need to go up and talk to a couple of people and say, why did you come? Take their quotes down. You read in the chapter about interviewing and taking notes. So you're going to be taking the notes down, asking them some questions. Why did they attend? Maybe you're going to find the organizer of the event. Talk to them directly. Tell me why you organized the event. How many people do you think attended this year? How much money do you plan on raising? What will the money be used for? Right? You're going out and you're doing the reporting, just like you read in the last few weeks in the chapters. So it's got to be you actually there taking notes, getting quotes. You have to have at least one source. So you have to talk to at least one person and get the quote and quote them. More than one is better. 2 or 3 is great, right? But you have to get at least one, and within that one source, you have to have at least 2 quotes in the story. You might have more. In fact, you're probably going to have more, but this is the bare minimum that you need. Has to be between 500 and 650 words, so it's not very long. Short paragraphs, 1 to 3 sentences, 5 at the most. This cannot be a block of text, right? You have to break it up, and like we've talked about in news writing, it's very short paragraphs. So each paragraph can be 1, 2, or 3 sentences. That's usually what you're aiming for. If you have a paragraph that's 5 sentences, you can maybe get away with it. But again, think about your lead. Your lead is only 1 sentence. So I already know when you write your story, the first thing you should be looking at is my lead 1 sentence, and that's appropriate paragraph length to start. And it has to be written in the third person, which means you can't be writing it as I or we or our. It can't be written in the second person. You, saying you. It's third person. If you need a little refresher, look it up online, but you're writing everything in the third person and in the past tense. So it already happened, right? That's the way these news stories are written, just as you read in your chapter. So past tense, third person. All right, so this is what I'm going to really be grading on. Is it informative and well-researched? You might have to do a little research before you go to this live event. So if you're covering a meeting for a town government, maybe it's a housing meeting or park and recs meeting. Excuse me, something really exciting. You may have to do a little research. Who are the people that are in charge or attending? Were they elected recently? I'm just trying to think of things off the top of my head, but you might have to go online and look that up. There's a whole chapter on research. So take a look back on those notes and say, how do I do appropriate research for the event that I'm about to cover? So that's part of it. Can I tell that you did the research and that there's information in there, good background information in there? It's organization. Again, another piece from the chapter that we've read. How is your story organized? Is there a lead, a nut graph, background information? Where are the quotes? Where is the most important piece of information? Is it near the top or the bottom? We did a whole exercise on it, right? And I gave you feedback on that about organization of that information. It was about the left-handed deaths and the study about that. So think about it in those terms. In my story, in my reporting, where am I putting the most important information? Consider that's something I'm going to be looking at. Where did you put all that information? I'm going to be looking at the focus, your lead. Is it clear? So do you have a clear lead? Does it start off strong? Does it follow all the rules of a lead? There was a whole chapter on leads, so you can see why it's so important. I'm going to be looking for that. How well crafted is your lead? And then also, even though I don't have it here, not everything fits in the lead. So then how does your nut graph look? And that kind of goes along with organization, but your lead and your nut graph, those are very important. Spend time on those two paragraphs. I'm going to be looking for the quality of your quotes and just the information that you got in general. The quality of your quotes is, did you choose effective quotes? And there was, again, go back to the chapter if you need some notes on how to what quotes to use, how to properly attribute quotes, but did you get quality quotes? And from that, I can even tell, how well was your interview, because usually if you have really quality quotes, it means you conducted a good interview. You had that material to use. So considering that, of course, it's newsworthiness. And go back to the chapter and just see, is this newsworthy? What can I tell when I'm reading it? What elements of newsworthiness you're trying to hit? You're trying to make sure that the reader understands why it's newsworthy. AP style. So at the time that you're watching this video, we have not covered AP style. It's the way that it's going to be formatted. That is going to be actually in week 4. This isn't due for a couple weeks. So you're going to do all the reporting part. You can go do this stuff now. You can even write it. And then next week, when we go over AP style, that's when you have to go back and edit. And you'll go back and you'll edit for AP mistakes. So don't worry about this too much right now. This will be something I'll be grading on, but we're going to go over this next week. We'll look at how well you've just applied the lessons from the chapters in general. So, there was a lot of content in there. Can I tell that you're applying the lessons that we're learning? The quizzes should help out with that a lot too. Those quizzes, those questions that I use, that's because I think those are important things that you should know. So can I tell that you're taking things from those quizzes and are you applying it to your writing? I'll be looking for that in general too. And then this is a big one, and it's not one that I can teach in this class. Is your work free of spelling and grammar errors? You need to go back and edit. In the chapter, one of the chapters, it gave you the best piece of advice, and I'm going to give it to you right now too, because I think it's the best piece of advice for editing, especially for grammar issues too. But first of all, read your work aloud. So you need to actually physically take your work, don't read it in your head, read it like I'm doing right now. Say it out loud and read every single sentence. You're going to catch a lot of grammar issues that way, first of all. You might even catch spelling, but you're going to catch a lot of grammar issues. And another piece of advice I'd give for the editing to help with this is something that somebody taught me a long time ago, and it's edit in layers. And what they mean by that is most people, when you just edit, you go through and you just read everything, right? You just read and look for every kind of mistake that you can find. No, every time you're going to read your story several times, and each time you're only going to look for one set of errors. So what I mean by that is, let's say the first time I read, I'm going to read my story. I don't care about the content. I don't care about paragraph length. I don't care about anything. All I'm looking for is grammar issues. Do I see any grammar mistakes? Read my whole story, do all the grammar mistakes. Then I'm going to reread my story, and this time I'm going to look for a different set of errors. Maybe this time I'm going to look at my paragraphs. All right, I'm going to count each paragraph. Do I have 1 to 3 sentences? Oh, there's a paragraph with 7 sentences. I got to change that. I'm just going to look for paragraph length. Then I might go through again, and now I might look for organization. I'm going to say, all right, where's my key information? And I'm going to look is key information in the order that it should be, and so on and so forth, right? And maybe I'll do that with each one of these here. I'm going to look, and I'm going to edit each time, and you're going to catch a lot of mistakes. So I know I went a little bit off on a tangent here, but that is important for this because editing is going to take you a long time. You really got to edit your stories. And even though this isn't something that we haven't been working on, I'm going to look for simple grammar mistakes. And if there's simple grammar and spelling mistakes, that's going to be part of your grade too. All right, so that's a lot, I know, but that's what the gist of your assignment is. This is what I'd like you to do. Please message me as soon as and again, messages over here. So please message me as soon as you think of the live event that you want to cover. And just say, hey, Professor Chiara, here's the event I'm thinking about covering. And I just want to confirm it with you that it's okay, because I want to make sure that whatever you go cover is appropriate and that it fits with this assignment. If I see an issue with it, I might ask you about it, and we'll work it out. But the point is, I want to make sure that we're both on the same page before you go out and cover something that didn't really fit this. So please message me as soon as you know the event that you want to cover. If you're really having trouble finding something, or your schedule is very difficult, and within your schedule, you're having a hard time finding something, let me know that too, sooner than later, and I'll work with you and try to find something, or we'll figure it out. But I need you to communicate with me on this, because I won't know if there's a problem if you don't let me know. So look for an event. If you're really struggling, contact me and I'll help you try to find an event. But part of this assignment is that you got to actually go out and look for an event, right? It's going to take you some time to do the research to see what's going on in your area. You might have to get creative. And if you don't have anything that you can think of, I might give you some ideas of, well, did you check the library's event page? Did you check your town's calendar of events? Did you check some charities in your area, for things that are going on? Did you look at your local paper? A lot of times towns have like a local paper that they send with events going on. Excuse me. Did you look at your a local school board? What's going on? Did you look at the University of Hartford? I know not all of you are near the University of Hartford, but did you look at the University of Hartford? There's events even going on in the summer. So the point is, I want you to spend some time really trying to find an event. That's kind of part of this assignment. You got to go out. I want you to get outside your comfort zone, and try to find something to go cover. And I just gave you a bunch of examples right now. You can go to a concert, and it doesn't have to be a big band. I mean, it could be like, I don't know, your nephew's, 6th grade concert or whatever it is, or a play. So you can go to something small like that. Or if you're going to a real concert, you could do it too. Same thing with a sports game. It could be a minor league. It could be your niece's soccer game, or it could be a professional game. You go to a town meeting, like I just mentioned. Towns have a lot of meetings. Take a look. Usually they're in the evening too. So if you work in the day, you could probably go to the evening, a town meeting. A town event. Are they holding something on the weekend? A grand opening of their park for the summer. I don't know, something. A public speech. People that go give speeches. Library events. Check your library. They have a ton of things. A charity event, like I was just mentioning. School board meeting. Take a look at your school, your kids' schools. A lot of times there's meetings that go on in the evening. Something like that. These are just a few examples. You might be able to think of another one. All right, I've given you a lot of information. I wanted to give a video just to go over everything here, so thank you for bearing with me. Let me just say my last piece to you here. This is difficult. I know it's difficult. I'm asking a lot. I know I'm asking a lot. I'm getting you outside your comfort zone, and that's very intentional. This is what reporters go through every day, and I'm giving you a little bit of a taste because that's the best way to learn. I'm expecting you're going to make lots of mistakes. I don't expect this to be perfect. This first one really is to go out there, make the mistakes, because that's the way you learn the best, And I'm going to give you a lot of feedback. And on your next one that you do, which won't be a hard news story, but on the next story that you do, you'll have this feedback and you'll be able to grow. So know that I'm going to be lenient. I'm going to be generous. I understand this is for a lot of you your first assignment. I'm not. I understand that this isn't ready to be published in the Wall Street Journal tomorrow. With that said, though, I'm expecting a lot of work for this. I mean, this is not something you're able to just put together in 2 hours. It's going to take you time. This is going to take you. I mean, you have 2 weeks to do it. I guess I didn't put that. You'll see the due date here. It's due in 2 weeks, so you got 2 weeks to do it. This week, I'm really expecting you to go out and do the reporting, getting the coverage, maybe start to write it. Next week, you got to write it and edit it for AP style, which we'll talk about. So it's a 2-week project, and it's going to be several hours. So it is a lot of work. That's part of taking a short summer class. We only have 8 weeks, so I got to condense what normally would be 3 or 4 weeks into 2. So this is going to be tough. You got to go out there. It's going to be good work. But you're going to feel a sense of pride when you finish this. There's nothing like seeing your name of a story that you reported, and even if this isn't being published somewhere, there's nothing like the pride that you get when you actually went out there, did the reporting, and wrote a story. So it's hard work, but hopefully you'll get to find something that you care about. And when you finish writing it and you actually get your name, what they call the byline, when you see your name on that byline underneath that headline, you're going to be really proud of this work. Please let me know if you have any questions. I know we went through a lot, but there's a lot here still that you might be confused. So please let me know if you have any questions. We'll be talking more about this early next week too in the next video. But message me as soon as you have the event. Message me with questions too, and we'll get going. All right, good luck.